Greetings, family. Hello, everybody. I didn't think anybody would be up. I was just going to record this, but instead of recording, I said I would just go live. So, welcome, everybody. This is just late night news before I go to bed because I know something starts tomorrow, February the 1st. President Trump is on a roll. Any promises that he has made so far, he has kept them. So, for those few of you that are still up, welcome. And I ask you to check in. Let us know where you're hailing from. Hello, Senator Republic Georgia Nancy Singletary. It's good to see you. Welcome. Hello. She says, thank you for all you do for humanity. It is my great pleasure. Also, welcome. Who is this? I'd rather be fishing. I know that's right. So this is January the 31st. 2025 and the time is 11:50 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm not going to keep you all long because I know it's late. This is late, Friday night. So happy Friday. Yay! We're almost into Saturday or the Sabbath. So welcome. Hello. Someone's checking in. Sonia's checking in from Missouri. Hello, Alma from Orlando. It's good to see you. Oh my God, so many of you are up. I didn't think anybody would be up. Candy is awake. Happy Friday from Central Michigan. Hello, Daniel. Welcome. Also, we want to say thank you all just for tuning in and always sharing your positive energy. I really appreciate you. Hello, Maxine. It's good to see you. Welcome, Barbara. She says, hi there. Hi, kicking in the kitchen. Welcome. It's good to see you. Ruben says, Dr. Kia, I just tagged you on my last two Facebook posts about the plane crash and the Super Bowl. Oh my gosh, I've been out all day. That's why I didn't report today. So I'll check that out, Ruben. Thank you, Brother Ruben Rodriguez. Always here checking in and sharing good news with me. Hello, Ian. It says, hi, Dr. Kia. It's good to see you. King Jaquin is in the house. Deborah Hoda is in the house too. Deborah says, she is from Colorado. I appreciate your dedication and commitment. It's my great pleasure. Hello again. I'd rather be fishing is in Louisiana. I just text my girlfriend from Louisiana saying, I got to come there. It seems like y'all have so much fun. I have to go. Barbara says she's from Georgia. Who is this? Fully is here from, where are you from? Fully says, hello, Queen. I hail from St. Simon's Island, Georgia. Senator Republic, Georgia. Nancy Singletary says, hello. Hi, Golden Marie. That's my middle name. Hello, Brandon. It's good to see. I didn't know so many people would be up. Good evening. Morx is in the house. Hello, Charmaine. Welcome. Says, oops, from Washington. Ian is from Australia. That's awesome. All the way from Australia. It's good to see you. Tampa Bay's in the house. Hi, Bernadine. Kay Harris is from the Midwest. I was born and raised in Cleveland, Ohio. Raised my kids in Portsmouth, Ohio, and West Virginia, and Louisville, Kentucky, because I was moving around as I was getting my education and credentials to work. So I love the Midwest. Mississippi is in the house. Mississippi says, ready for the credits to roll. I want a flying car like the Jetsons. Me too, Tanya. Is it Tyona? Crystal is here in the house. Oh my gosh, so many of you. Lorenzo says, hello, Queen. Welcome. Blessings, Dr. Kia. Gratitude. Hello, Sister Linda. Happy Friday, everybody. We're going into the Sabbath. I'm excited. Hello and good evening, Jack's girl. Sending love and blessings to the family. Teresa's in the house. Greetings to you too. Edda's here. Empress Ma's in the house. Wow, so many of you are awake. Hello, Victoria. Good to see you from Michigan. Good evening, Bernadelle. It's good to see you. You're welcome. It's my great pleasure. Valerie's in the house from Alabama. I had a lot of friends from Birmingham, Alabama that went to college with me in Berea, Kentucky. We used to recruit heavily for some reason. I think it was because we were in the Appalachian Mountains, and the Appalachian Mountains stretch all the way from, I think, certain parts, maybe the Midwest, all the way down south to Birmingham, Alabama. So I have a lot of friends there. Hi, Crystal. Hello, Matt. Welcome. Hi, Jack's girl from New York. Audrey's in the house. Audrey Lattimore says, greetings, Dr. Kia from Greenville, South Carolina. Audrey, if your name is Lattimore, we're probably related by marriage. My children are Lattimores. So tell me in the chat if your family is in entertainment, because every Lattimore that I've met is a musician or in some type of entertainment, and you guys are all related. My husband was a Lattimore. My children are Lattimores. Every time I meet a Lattimore, they're all connected. So welcome. Who is here? Queen. Hello, Queen from Arizona. Oh, LLS Construction says hello. Hi, live in the New York. Dawn is here. Welcome. Barbara's in the house. What's the current news? I'm going to get to it. California's in the house. Visible Monster. Oh, Hawaii is here. Hi, Crystal. I'm sorry. You're welcome. Vernadelle says, thank you for all your hard work. Adrian Robinson is here. Hello. Flight 77 Ohio is in the house. Welcome. Jason is here. Welcome. Who else? Tylette is here. Welcome. Dudley, Amelia. Wow. Mayo. C. Styler is in the house. Welcome. Daryl Sharp is in the house from Chicago. Derwin says, I'm representing Jacksonville, Florida. Derwin, it's good to see Duval in the house. I love this city. That's how we greet each other, family. Still I Rise is in the house. Welcome. Peace to you too. Shangice is in the house from Detroit, Michigan. Who else is here? Senator is in the house, and you are worth staying up for. That's so kind. Thank you. Sunshine is here. Pamela's here from Georgia. Sister Teresa, Butterflies from New Jersey. Morxius is here. Mojo is here. Pamela is here. Wow. Deidre. Oh my gosh, we have 292 people in the chat. Good evening, Butterfly. Good evening to you too. From Kentucky, Golden Arrow says, welcome, family. It's so good to see everybody in the house. Oh, I see our moderators here. Love being Nubian. Girl, you up? Glad to see you too. Amelia's in the house. Hello. Arizona, where my best friend Sonia Smith lives. Hi, Crystal. Hi, Cowgirl. Phoenix Rising. It's always good to see you, Phoenix. Lorraine is here, says, hello, my beautiful light worker. Central Florida's in the house. Wow, look at all of you all checking in. This is so amazing, family. I just wanted to give a brief report because I didn't give a report today, since I was out all day taking care of business. Hello, The Truth. It's good to see you, and I'm spending time with the grandbabies. So hello, Ohio. I see you in the house. So I didn't get a chance to report on some news based on what's supposed to happen starting tomorrow. It's good to see everybody. Keep checking in, family. I see Pittsburgh in the house as well. Who else is here? Maryland's in the house, and the DFW. Keep checking in, family. We are right at 11:57 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is Friday going into Saturday, the Sabbath. So happy Friday. Yay, everybody. And happy Sabbath, Shabbat Shalom, as we say for the Sabbatarians that are in the house. It is so good to see everybody. So we do have some news and some things that are supposed to happen beginning tomorrow. But before we do that, check in and keep talking to each other. Let us know how you're doing, family, and where you all are hailing from. Also, let us know if you were able to catch the live that I did on yesterday with the Sheik, also known as Asir, the Duke of Tears, who talked about the Republic. He gave us the history of the Republic, or the history of America, before we had visitors here from Europe and elsewhere. Told us what it looked like, how it changed, where we are now, and where we are going. And as he said, President Trump and the alliance and all the people that are helping him are actually moving us towards into the golden era, or to the gold standard, and restoring the Republic, restoring our sovereignty, our peace, and our prosperity. And anytime we see anybody doing something for the benefit of the whole family of humanity, then we want to give them accolades. So we are so grateful for President Trump and all of the military and Earth Alliance, as well as any extraterrestrial beings that are here helping us. So I don't want to keep you on long, family, but I did want to tell you that starting tomorrow, Trump's tariffs on China, Canada, and Mexico will begin as of February the 1st. And he said, I made this promise and I'm going to keep the promise. Interestingly enough, the Canadian or Canada, I should say, Canadian representatives tried to meet with the border czar here in America and tried to negotiate not having tariffs on Canada, but President Trump said that's not going to happen. I'm going to stick to my promise. I said February the 1st, and that's what we're going to do. And one thing we know about President Trump is he has a tendency to not go back on his word. So what they're saying now is that the tariffs would amount to about 25% on Mexico, and Canada will have about a 10% tariff, and then China will have 10% as well. And this is for illegal fentanyl that they've been sourcing into America, and they have been allowed to distribute fentanyl to our family members here under the Biden administration and some administrations before that. But this has killed millions of Americans, and Trump said he's putting a stop to it. So Trump is not only taxing these countries because of the drugs that they illegally brought here, but he's also taxing them for doing any business with us. And as you know, he said he was going to do away with the internal revenue services, or the IRS, and create the external revenue services. And the reason he said he was going to do that, not just to deal with the drug issue or to tax them for what they did, but also because the way the government used to make money before they started taxing the people was by taxing other countries that were doing business with us. And also taxing us was another way to fund wars. Well, doing away with taxing the people should bring about world peace, and that would mean no more wars funded here in America. So these are promises made and promises kept, the president said. You got to love them. So starting on February the 1st, that's what we should see. And I love that he said when he gave his inauguration speech that putting tariffs on other countries would be one of the first ways he's going to ensure that prosperity begins on day one. So look forward to a lot of money being saved, not just by the federal government, but you will be saved. So you won't be paying income taxes very, very soon. I can't give you a date, but we know that it's happening soon because President Trump is already doing these external taxes. So kudos to President Trump. Another thing I wanted to report is that President Trump is really cracking down on illegal aliens, but I want to specifically focus on Florida because a lot of people would actually come through Florida. Because they could, it's very close to Mexico and some of the islands there. So what we see happening in Florida is mass arrests taking place. In fact, 8 adults were just arrested and charged, and at least 2 dozens were detained and taken into custody by United States Immigration and Custom Enforcement for further investigation in the Indian River County of Florida. So what you see happening in Florida is the Florida Highway Patrol working with immigration to round up many people who were here illegally. So again, there were 8 adults that were arrested, and then 2 dozen that were detained in River County, Florida. Then one of the articles says that the Florida Highway Patrol and Homeland Security rounded up, let's see how many so far, 1,016 arrests that they made so far, and 814 that were detained and lodged. So they're okay, they're lodged. And DeSantis, who is the governor here, said that more than 20 undocumented Chinese nationals were detained in South Florida by Florida Department of Law Enforcement agents and Coral Gables Police Department offices. Also, we noticed that a lot of sex offenders have been arrested here in Florida. Not only had they been arrested, but many of them had been deported and they came back under the Biden administration, according to reports. So what they're saying is that in 2024, the Biden administration detained, but then released 315 illegal aliens, almost all of whom had been violent offenders, and he released them right back onto the streets once he detained them. 315. But the governor here vows to veto any legislation that tries to stop him. And I'll show you that article right here, just so you can see it for yourself. Let me see if I can find that for you. ICE raids are underway. If you're looking for it, that's what it'll say. See, right here. Ron DeSantis says we must have the strongest laws in the nation on the immigration and immigration enforcement. We cannot be weak. That's what the people expect, for us to be weak, he says. Let me get back to that article. Hold on, family. It looks like I lost that article that quickly. But basically what he says is we won't be weak, and we will crack down on any illegal people here in the state of Florida. Because what we've seen is a lot of people had, like I said, come through Florida. You can come through the ports, you can fly in. I showed you an article that said that Biden had admitted to flying in more than 320,000 illegal immigrants or illegal migrants into the country. But we also, those migrants typically come through Florida. Immigrants come through, those are people from not from the Americas, come through all different entryways. But the Florida governor is cracking down hard on it, on this, the entrance and exit from Florida, because they were bringing in drugs, they were trafficking children, they were committing serious violent crimes, they were even trafficking women and putting them in prostitution and into the porn industry. So we saw many Florida governors actually last year do some roundups, and now DeSantis is saying he's cracking down hard too on that issue as well. So I'll see if I can find that here, that article again. I lost it for you. Let me see. I lost it that quickly, but what I'll do, here it is. I was going to say what I'll do is I'll make sure I put this article in the description section. Let us know if they are rounding up unlawful people in your state or your city. Put it in the chat, please, so we can just stay abreast on what's going on. I think it's interesting that 20 undocumented Chinese nationals were detained in Florida. What are they doing in Florida? That's wild. So here I found the article. Let's see, right here. I just want to see what DeSantis is saying. We must have the strongest laws in the nation on immigration enforcement. We cannot be weak. That's what the people expect and what the people have voted for in recent elections, culminating in the mandate earned by President Trump to enact the largest deportation program in history. So, I'll leave that for you again in the description section so you can read more on that. And what else is in the news, family, is that gold just hit a new all-time high. And the reason why gold continues to hit new highs is because the dollar is depreciating in value. Before we talk about gold's all-time high, it's important to let you see what's happening with BRICS. You all know that the BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa coalition continues to expand. But here, this article says that the United States dollar falls as Trump's tariff plan takes a turn, according to them. Many people thought they were going to be able to get out of these tariffs that Trump was putting on them, but he said no, he's not having it. He's going to move forward, and he has to do what's in the best interest of the American people. This particular article you can find on Watcher Guru. So anytime you want to keep up with what the BRICS coalition is doing, you can Google Watcher Guru or just go to watcher.guru and you can find all the BRICS information. It'll be old, okay, because by the time they tell you information, things have already passed, but you'll be at least able to see what they're talking about, what they're discussing. Geopolitical tensions are nearing a fever pitch as the global South and the West face off. With de-dollarization efforts at the forefront, the two sides have shown no interest in budging. That's right. Nobody's trying to make deals with a United States Incorporated. They weren't trying to make deals with Biden when they stopped trading with the dollar. And now they're kind of afraid. They're really afraid of Trump. They know that he's not messing around, that he's not playing games. But the BRICS coalition, I believe they knew that Trump was going to win. And so they started making deals to coalesce against the West by agreeing not to trade with the dollar, unifying as a group, and tapping upon the shoulders of other nations that could join them, like Saudi Arabia. Because as you all know, what made the dollar the world reserve currency was our agreement with Saudi Arabia to protect the Saudi kingdom in exchange for their oil. And then we would force all exporting nations to trade with Saudi Arabia for their oil, and they must use the United States dollar. So that gave the United States Incorporated financial and economic hegemony. Well, once Russia decided to stop trading with the dollar, uh, they then inspired Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa to do the same. And then Saudi Arabia joined the BRICS bloc, and that just made it that union very, very strong, because that ended the coalition or the agreement between Saudi Arabia and the United States. So we saw that happen in 2022, but the mainstream media was not reporting on it. We reported. Andy Schechtman, the CEO of Miles Franklin Precious Metals Company, came on my program. I invited him to come to talk about that because I had read about how Saudi Arabia secretly joined BRICS, and mainstream media hadn't covered it. And we knew then that it was over for the United States dollar, because again, the dollar was all about the agreement with Saudi Arabia. And if any nation didn't agree to trade with Saudi Arabia, getting their oil from them and using the dollar or pegging their currency to our dollar, then we would put sanctions on those countries, or we would just go over there and declare war against them. Well, now that Saudi Arabia had joined, we knew it was over. That only inspired more nations to join BRICS, and it became known BRICS to SAL BRICS, then to BRICS Plus. And now we see even more nations joining BRICS. So they dropped the dollar, and they got stronger and stronger. They created their own payment platform. They were talking about creating their own currency. All the nations started trading using their own currencies or local currencies backed by precious metals. All these nations also repatriated their gold from the Vatican, which made them even stronger. So the article says, throughout his campaign for re-election, Trump has not been shy about his perspective on the United States dollar. Thank you so much for the Cash App blessing. I can't read it. My eyes are a little. Blondell, God bless you, Blondell Sykes. I appreciate you. Having smile on you. Thank you so much. Trump hasn't been shy about his perspective on the United States dollar. Specifically, he has continued to maintain the importance of the greenback to remain the world's currency. This week, though, he has shared an interesting update that adds the latest on what is an extended saga. And it talks about how Trump has targeted the BRICS alliance. He has issued a severe warning on the bloc, calling for 100% tariffs on participating nations. He sought to challenge its ongoing initiatives to create a native currency to oppose the dollar. So I'm not quite sure why Trump is threatening to put tariffs on the BRICS nations, because BRICS seem to be doing a good job of actually bringing down the greenback. And so this might just be like a war tactic, because the dollar has to fail. It has to fall, unless we're talking about the United States note, the new note backed by gold, silver, palladium, platinum, and precious metals. But the fiat dollar has to collapse. So no matter what he is doing right now, we know that the dollar has to collapse because it's losing its value. And even the beginning of the article said that the United States dollar is losing its value. It said the United States dollar falls as Trump's tariff plan takes a turn. So that could just be their spin on why the dollar is falling. We know that the dollar is actually falling because all the BRICS nations stopped trading with the dollar. Also, with all of the money printing that was happening, the dollar lost its value. And then we just know that with the pandemic also, the dollar was losing value. So no country wants to deal with the dollar, not BRICS, not the Shanghai Corporation, not even Americans, because here in America, lawmakers have agreed to reclaim silver and gold as money. So it doesn't matter what mainstream media tells you, you have to dig deeper than what they're telling you. It could be Trump's tariffs that's making the dollar collapse, but they were collapsing the dollar before Trump even talked about the tariffs. They're tired of dealing with the fiat monetary system. They're tired of dealing with the central bank system of the Federal Reserve, which is attached to United States Incorporated. So all of these nations are saying, we're going to stand on our own. They have Russia backing them, and they have other nations that will unite. For example, in Africa, you have who was that? Mali, Burkina Faso, Senegal, Chad, and Niger to kick out the French. And what they did once they kicked out the French is they formed their own military alliance and they started trading with their own local currencies. Well, all of the nations have gotten to that point where they're using their own local currencies, and they were actually inspired to do that by Vladimir Putin. So what set off all of this as it relates to the expedition of the dollar collapse was Biden putting sanctions on Vladimir Putin, who is the president of Russia. So when Biden the reason why Biden put sanctions on Vladimir Putin is because Vladimir Putin went to Ukraine, and he went to Ukraine to expose all the criminal activity that was going on there. And he intends to bring the Soviet Union back together. So once he went there to expose all the criminal activity there, Biden got upset because he exposed Biden all the money laundering, drug laundering, all the labs that had created that sickness that shut down the world. A lot of those labs were actually in Ukraine. So when Vladimir Putin did that, Biden put sanctions on him and told all the countries not to trade with him. But Vladimir Putin said, it's okay that you do that. I will trade with my own currency. And he did that in 2022. That's when the Ukraine war started. So what you saw happen then was that the Russian ruble became the strongest performing currency in the world in 2022. And then Vladimir Putin said, the United States Incorporated is bankrupt. It's insolvent. It's defunct. I know this. And he knew that the military was not coming for him because he knew behind the scenes there was a secret agreement called Project Sandman. Some people call it Operation Sandman. And that agreement was to, when triggered, simultaneously, all 209 nations drop the dollar and use their own currencies for trade. So since he knew about that agreement, he wasn't worried about Biden putting sanctions on him. He stopped trading with the dollar. He started trading with his ruble, his Russian ruble. He told Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa to use their own local currencies. They did that. They started using the ruble to trade to get oil from Saudi Arabia. Then they started using their own currencies. And then he inspired the Russian nations to do the same. And that's when those 5 nations coalesced or agreed to drop the any agreements they had with France. That was Burkina Faso, Niger, Mali, Chad, and Senegal. And now they're standing on their own, and they create their own military. So they weren't playing around. And then other nations started to do the same thing. Now, when we saw that happen, we knew it was over. And then, of course, adding Saudi Arabia to the mix, it just quickly, all these nations started joining the BRICS blocks. It's so that 2 years ago, 85% of the world population had already joined BRICS, but the mainstream media wasn't reporting that. Okay, we saw that happening. You had to know where to dig. But now all exporting nations just about have joined BRICS. And if they haven't joined BRICS, then they're a part of the Shanghai Corporation, which are the Asian nations. So all of that coalescing against the United States dollar has significantly devalued the United States dollar. And that's a beautiful thing for us, even though some people in America were worried and some financial forecasters were saying, oh my God, it's going to be so bad for America. Well, it's already bad for America. We already have an economy that's horrendous, okay, because of the pandemic and because of all the money printing, because of the high debt ceiling that we've already reached and breached. So the good news, though, is that 46 states here in America have repealed the state sales taxes from the sales of precious metals. And when you repeal or remove the state sale taxes from precious metals, then you have reclaimed silver and gold as money. Okay, that's already happening, which means that we're almost there. There are only 4 more states remaining. Who is it? Maine, New Mexico, Vermont, and Hawaii. Those are the last states that need to reclaim gold and silver as money. And then we're totally on the gold standard. Now, it's interesting that the states made a decision to do that because we already know that the Republic for America And our Constitution says that the only thing that can be used to pay off debts are silver and gold. And the Constitution defines the dollar as a fixed weight of silver. But it appears that the states are passing laws in order to align with the republic. So now there's going to be no excuse for why we can't just transition right into the republic, because all the states are just about are ready. So keep in mind that it's a basic principle that as the dollar decreases in value, silver and gold increases in value. And that's why I wanted to show you the article that says the United States dollar falls as Trump's tariff plan takes a turn. Basically, they're wanting you to know that the dollar is collapsing. And I wanted to show you that before I showed you the new gold prices. Since the dollar is falling, this is why we see these new gold prices. In fact, if you look up the last all-time high of gold, it would say 2,780, I think. Now the gold price is $2,798. That is the newest all-time high, and silver is just at $31. This is letting you know something. Even if you're not in the budget or in the market for getting precious metals, when you see what's happening with precious metals, how it's there's an upward trend, you know that the dollar is collapsing. So even though Trump might be talking about making the greenback stronger, at some point the dollar has to collapse because it's attached to the old system. It's attached to the central banking system. It's attached to the Federal Reserve, and all that is insolvent. But in preparation for that, this summer, the Supreme Court of the United States ruled that state-sponsored banks could operate independently from the Federal Reserve central banking system, and they could have their own charter and issue out their own gold-backed currencies. That's how you know that we have entered the new golden era. The whole new golden era that Trump's been talking about since actually 2020 has already begun, because every nation has returned to using gold as money, including here in America. And that's why it was big news, at least I broadcasted it, that Florida was coming up with this new gold backs. They made that announcement in December and said, as of January 15th, you will be able to get the new gold backs, which are gold aurum notes, AURUM, which are 14 carats of gold, and some notes are 24 carats gold, carats of 0.9995 gold pressed onto a note. And some of these notes are 1/100th of a troy ounce of gold, and some are 1/1000 of a troy ounce of gold. And you can use those gold backs or those gold aurum notes to buy local goods and services. They became available January the 15th. So when you see articles like that coming out, you know it's happening. So people just didn't know about it. I've been reporting about it for many, many years about how other states had gold backs, I think way back in like 2011. At the time, I think as of 2020, though, it was only 13 states that legalized silver and gold as legal tender. But now, again, we're at 46 states. This is great news. By the time Trump gets finished with what he's doing, I would say in the first few months, we're going to be hearing about a gold standard mainstream. And I don't know if you guys have noticed it, but now you're starting to hear, little at a time, advertisements for gold. They're prepping you. They're getting you ready. They started actually getting you ready in the news, if you knew where to look, about 2022, when central banks were buying up records number or hoarding records number of gold. 2022 and 2023. When you see the banks hoarding gold or amassing gold, you know something is up. So what we know is that with the Basel compliancy, banks had to recognize gold as a tier 1 asset, which is probably why they have been accruing or accumulating gold within the last 2 or 3 years. They had to recognize gold as a tier 1 asset, and they had to recognize tier 2 assets. So I know a lot of you are saying, I went to my bank and I asked them, are you going to exchange the Iraqi dinar? Are you going to exchange the Vietnamese dong? Are you going to have any currency exchanges? They're telling you no, but they're lying, because I've shown you the article that says that banks met globally to make sure that they were prepared for tier 2 assets. Tier 2 assets, as I shared with you, are foreign reserves or foreign currencies. So it's not that some of these bankers are probably lying on purpose. If you're talking to somebody in an administration or high up, they may just not be able to tell you right now. But if you're talking to a banker, they just don't know. Most bankers don't really know anything except for how to sell the products of the bank. I learned that from talking to bankers, that they're really not trained about silver, gold, foreign currencies, not much of anything, only the products of their particular bank, based on my opinion. But I want to show you which video you want to listen to of mine. I know you guys are saying you're trying to hold on. Me too, family. Just stay encouraged. We're almost there. So this is my YouTube channel. My YouTube handle is Dr. Kia Pruitt Official. I do want to caution you that there are many YouTube channels even with my picture and my name who's making money off my videos. And YouTube has not stopped them, even though I've reported it. So this is my official page right here. Here on this page, I have 9,450 subscribers. So that's how you know this is the right one. But scroll down here. All of these videos, I have to say, are really good, filled with information. But this one here that says great news for currency holders here, I show you an article in the description section and in the podcast that talks about banks meeting globally to ensure that they are ready to receive tier 2 assets. And in the article, I state that
if you're a busy entrepreneur,
the reason why they met to make sure that they were ready to receive these assets is because they need your foreign reserves. They need these currencies to ensure the health of the banks, according to the articles, and to make sure that to protect them against bankruptcy. So again, these are all part of Basel II compliancy. Banks have to be transparent. Banks have to recognize gold as a tier 1 asset, and banks had to be prepared to receive tier 2 assets or foreign currencies. Let's see where that article is. It's in here somewhere. Here it is. Oh, nope. Oh, here I talk about the definition of tier 2 assets, just so people can know. And the article, I pulled it up actually in the video and read it out loud. And here it is. Global banks gear up for tier 2 capital insurance or issuance under Basel III guidelines. I'm glad that I had this article from last summer when the banks met, because now when you go to the link of the article, it doesn't look the same as when I first saw it. And I actually look, wow, it's not even here anymore. I was going to say they had taken it down. No, they had changed and reworded the article the last time I checked it here. Wow, that's crazy. Let me check again. But now it's gone. Wow. However, if you click on this link and you look at the broadcast, you will see that I actually bring up the article for you, and we read it together line by line. Make sure you watch that video. Great news, banks are ready for currency exchanges. Just in case, if you need some encouragement, I go line by line according to the articles and explain what tier 2 assets are, why banks must be ready for them, why they need them, what the bankers are saying that they're doing to ensure that they're ready, how they are compliant. And this is a good podcast to let you know that we are on for the foreign currency exchange. So I just wanted to come on just briefly to encourage you and let you know that President Trump is keeping his promises. He's putting tariffs on Mexico, China, and Canada, and those tariffs start tomorrow. So as you see him putting tariffs on countries, you know that we are ending the internal revenue services. So when people say, you know, the IRS is never going to go away, they just don't understand that the IRS was created to tax the people, to pay for wars, and to not tax, for the government to not have to tax these other countries. And the reason why the government stopped taxing these other countries is because then these people that were in power were in bed with these other countries. Well, Trump is saying, forget that. It's over. It's a wrap. And even if they tried to negotiate with him, he said, nope, it's done. So I suppose we're in it. We're in that time now. It's 12:29 a.m. We're now at February 1st. We'll come back tomorrow and convene or reconvene and see what happened with these other nations and how that's going to change America. Again, Trump said that these tariffs on these other countries is going to make the whole country rich again, and it's going to put way more money in our pockets. And what he didn't say, though, at least I haven't heard him say this yet, is when it's all said and done, once he announces that this is, you know, over and that he's brought us into the republic, everything that you have paid to the IRS will return back to you. Okay, so I wanted to report that to you. Also, I wanted to let you know that Trump is rounding up illegal migrants and illegal immigrants all over the country. I already did a podcast yesterday, I believe it was, yes, to let you know that he had put out the military key points in the country in order to round up illegal immigrants and migrants. And I also told you that it was getting pretty sticky at the border because the Mexican drug cartel actually shot at the National Guard and the military. So and they exchanged fire. So this could get really serious where Trump may have to do more than what he's done already. He's declared a national emergency. He might have to declare, you know, a complete shutdown. I don't know if he will, and he might have to do an emergency broadcast system announcement because, you know, as things get tough, these cartels are going to start wanting to fight back. These drug dealers who were bringing in fentanyl, thank you so much, Sister Maxine. God bless you. As you saw, that the countries were bringing in fentanyl, they're going to be angry that they can't continue to drug our people and make money off the drugs that they were sending here. So this is serious business. We also wanted to show you that the dollar is losing value and that's a basic economic principle, that as the dollar decreases in value, gold and silver increases in value. So I'm going to look and see when it was the gold all-time high. The last, what is the gold all-time high? Let's say when. When was gold at an all-time high? The last thing I had seen was 2,780 before today. Yesterday, the article said, or just late last night, there's an article that said gold hovers near all-time highs as tariff confusion sparks market jitters. So where is gold right now? 2,798, almost 2,800. If you are in the market for gold or you're thinking about gold, then you can give Andy Scheckman a call from Miles Franklin Precious Metals Company, or you can go to your local coin dealer. The reason why you want to go to your local coin dealer, if you decide to do that, even though the prices will be higher than an online dealer typically, but you can build good relationships with a dealer in your community in the event that you want to exchange. So say you go and buy some gold and silver now, but you might want to take the gold and silver that you bought now later to exchange for whatever currency we're going to be using so that you can make other purchases. And it's always just good to know the merchants that are in your area and do good business with the people in your area. But if you're interested in ordering from Miles Franklin, you guys know the number is 952-929-7006, and just let them know that Dr. Kia Pruitt sent you. So that's about it, family. I know it's getting late, but I do want to answer some questions if anybody has questions. If I know the answer, I'll answer it. And if I don't, I'll let you know. Yes, the fiat dollar is crashing, but the United States Treasury note, thank you, Amy, will replace it. That's right. Absolutely. And everything attached to the dollar will collapse too. The stock market will collapse. The housing market is already taking a downward trend. The automobile collapse started, according to articles, last summer because people weren't able to keep up their automobile loan payments. So, banks had to write off all hundreds of thousands of dollars. And then when they tried to repossess the cars, they realized they didn't have enough workers to repossess the cars. So many of these automobile dealers started shutting down. It's crazy. So everything attached to the dollar will collapse. And we knew that would happen because the dollar is losing value. And when there was a clause of Project Sandman, when you saw the dollar collapse, when 209 nations stop trading with the dollar, then everything will come to a screeching halt and everything will freeze, according to economists. So you got to know when it comes to the stock market, when to invest and then when to say, okay, it's time to pull out, because a lot of these, what is it? The Dow, I think there's the Dow and there's two other components. But I'm hearing that at least two of the three will not exist under the Republic. The stock market altogether may cease to exist. Morxia says they also found an illegal COVID lab. Wow. In the West and Cali about a year or so ago. Wow. Thank you, Tristan. Tristan said we're switching over to Treasury notes. That's right. That will be issued out by the United States Treasury Department. And speaking of the United States Treasury Department, any banks, most of the banks, many of the banks are closing. And we'd already talked about that yesterday. So you can catch my podcast that I did yesterday, early afternoon or yesterday morning. But the ones that remain will be absorbed by the United States Treasury Department. Yeah, we do need the RV. Food is super expensive. Thank you, David. Before Trump left, the United States dollar was backed by its gold standard. Zimbabwe had followed along as well. The United States Treasury note, yes, is backed by the dollar, but not the greenback. The greenback is attached to the Federal Reserve central banking system. Kevin says, for every dollar that's created, there is interest required. So by design, the dollar will always have a percentage of interest on top of the base dollar, which keeps us in perpetual cycle of being in debt. Absolutely. So please hit the like button, family. Thank you, Jason, for reminding everybody. He says, remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share the video if you think it will help someone. Marcy says, there were a lot of important people there wanting to open a lot of business and invest. Saudi has been firm with those people. Okay, thank you. Dam says his twin and he has a birthday tomorrow. So, they were hoping that Jasara would kick in. It seems like we're close. I know everybody is suffering. I know, family. And I don't even know that I can say anything that could make you feel better. Thank you so much for the Cash App blessing, J. Cole. God bless you. Heaven smile on you. I really appreciate that. Except for things are rapidly moving since Trump got into office. I mean, his first week, he signed dozens of executive orders. And they said he was slated last week to sign 400 executive orders. Why so many? Because he has to use the deep state's tools and mechanisms against them to bring them down. The executive orders are their own tools. And so he's trying to he is undoing everything Biden did, before him, as well as creating new executive orders in order to bring wealth back into our country and to make sure our borders are secure. Because as you saw, I don't know if I showed you the articles, I read them, but let me see. Thank you, Sister Love Being says, hit the like button. I'll show you the article from which I read that talked about how some of these illegal migrants and immigrants were actually very violent criminals, especially the ones that I know of, the ones that we rounded up here in Florida and elsewhere because Trump has reported on them. Let's see where I can find the ICE raids. No, I can't find it. Let me see if I can find the ICE raids. Here's the Trump's tariffs. I might have accidentally clicked off. I'll have to put those in the description section. I think I clicked off that article. I apologize for that. So let me see if I have any more questions, family. Let me see. Trump. Let me see. It was Florida arrests, ICE raids. I got it. So for those of you just checking in, I'm going to show you what's going on in the state of Florida with the ICE raids. Right here. Arrest detentions underway in Florida as state crackdown on illegal immigrants. Here it is. How many arrests has ICE made so far? Here, ICE completely has, this was as of January 29th, arrested 1,016 illegal immigrants, and they detained 814 so far. That was as of 2 days ago, so it's probably even higher. Then they talk about, this article talks about sex offenders that have been arrested, and the article would tell you that many of them had actually been deported several times, 4 times at least, and had come back under the Biden administration. Then it goes on to talk, it breaks down county by county and tells you how many arrests have been made in the state of Florida. And we also covered how undocumented Chinese nationals were detained in Coral Gables here in Florida. Here is the 315 criminals that were released. That were arrested and then released and now have been rearrested here in the state of Florida. So that's just in my state alone. I can't imagine what's happening in the rest of your states. You know what? I lost you guys. I can't see you. Okay, there you are. Any more questions before we get out? Oh, you guys are talking about the Iraqi dinar? I don't know what the rates are, but before the war, I know that the rate was over $3, like $3.40 something cent, the Iraqi dinar. But I was following a few people. I followed Ariel on X and a couple other people who said when you take in account for inflation, then the Iraqi dinar rate would be between, I think they said like $16 and $39. Yes, compared to $3 where it was pre-war. It's about $16 to $39. So if that's true, then you're going to be very, very wealthy. Who is this unavenged if you have $50,000 Iraqi dinar now? But yes, we've been told that it will at least be 1-to-1 with the new United States Treasury note. Tristan says we need tariffs on all incoming goods to encourage people. Yes, to encourage all our goods to be made in America. That's right. Yes, Venezuela Bolivar, we are told, is one of the currencies that definitely have been devalued through sanctions. So Jeffrey says he's waiting patiently. Hit the like button, family. Yes, all the country's currencies are supposed to be 1-to-1. And what else? Hi, Chickasaw, Virginia. David says it's getting harder and harder to afford living. I know. The cost of living is hard. He has 3 children, and we need money. Everything's expensive. I know, David. I know. We're praying that everything happens very, very quickly under Trump. I do know he said we're going to have a huge celebration between May, the end of May, which is Memorial Day of 2025, through July 4th, 2026. So it sounds like he's trying to accomplish a whole lot before that time in order for us to have this year-long celebration. And that celebration is going to be held in the Iowa State Fairgrounds. They're preparing already for it. So I'm looking forward to Trump doing something very, very huge, even making an announcement leading up to that big celebration. Morxius has 5 billion Bolivar, 50 million dong. Wow, he's ready for Nasara. Unaverage Joe said, I heard someone say the Iraqi dinar could potentially go to $3.50. I think it's going to be higher, but that's good. We'll take it. Melissa wants to remind us, hi, Melissa Beverly. It's nice to see you. Thank you for joining us, that everybody will get something, whether you have invested in foreign currencies or not. Hold on, she says, because this reset is about to happen and everything's going to be wonderful. Thank you for the reminder. So what we expect to happen is Trump to continue to issue out these executive orders in a I don't want to say an attempt, because it actually is destroying and dismantling the deep state. And we're waiting for that final executive order. And after that happens, then he should make an announcement that the cabal, the deep state, the Illuminati, the federal government has completely collapsed. And that would serve as a Nasara announcement. Once that announcement happens, family, then we know that's when we're going to exchange our currencies. And that's when the Nasara trillions of dollars for humanitarian purposes will be injected into the global economy. But it shouldn't happen right away. Not right now. People keep saying it needs to happen now, and it does. But if it happens before he destroys the deep state and gets rid of all these criminals, then what they would do is they would steal the money and re-empower themselves. And we don't want that to happen. So he's systematically destroying the system and ushering in the gold-backed currency and making sure all the banks are compliant, making sure the United States Treasury Department absorbs the remaining banks, and just, making sure that the people are, the morale and morality of the people, and not the morality per se, but the morale, the psyche of the people is built up, and everybody, has the American spirit. He's building us up to this final announcement that he's going to make. Yes, everybody's going to get something. You're welcome, Sister Claudia. She says, thank you, Dr. Pruitt. Any more questions, family, before we get off? Bernadette says, thank you. You're welcome. Hello, George Floyd. No, George Floyd. Michael George. How did I say George Floyd? My bad. I'm sorry, Brother Michael. I saw George and thought of George Floyd. Wouldn't it be nice to have an announcement about that situation? Because that just caused mayhem in this country. But hello, Michael. It's good to see you. Thank you for all these emojis. You're so wonderful. Jess says, peace to the family. Hi, Robert. I don't see any more questions. Yes, paying income taxes has always been voluntary. Tristan says they've always been that way. So do what you think. Oh, somebody must have asked, should you pay taxes? That's a good way of answering that question. Do what you think, but it's always been voluntary. At the end of the storm, Jason says, is the golden sky. So keep your vibrations high, family. We're almost there. Somebody says, oh, the Treasury says the farmers are getting attention. And according to Nasara, the farmers must be paid first once the Republic is announced. And then we, the people, will be paid first. And the reason for that is because the farmers are the ones that took the United States Incorporated and the central banking system to court. They took them to court because the banks were putting high interest rates on top of the loans that they gave the farmers and making the farmers do nefarious things in order to get loans from the banks. So the farmers were fed up. They didn't want to, plant certain seeds. They didn't want to do certain things to the cattle in order to get loans because, the bankers and government would actually come out to those farms to make sure they were in compliance in order to get those loans, as well as putting high interest rates on those loans. So once the farmers took them to court, it was determined that not only had the banks participated in unlawful, unconstitutional practices against the farmers, but they had done it to we the people and to people all over the world. So it was determined then that that there would be an army or military that would be established to take down the banking system and the federal government. And after that happens, we will return to the gold standard, and then the farmers will be paid in gold, as well as other people that took the United States Incorporated to court, like Empress Verdiasi, or some people call her Verdice Gaston L. Turner Bay, who was the Empress of the Moors. She took the United States Incorporated to court and won her claim. And her claim against the United States Incorporated was that the Louisiana Purchase was a Louisiana theft, and how that had included many states, and how they had stolen the land from the indigenous peoples here, the Aboriginal indigenous people here, and therefore they needed to pay back the people here. And so it was at that time in the 1990s where she was taking them to court. She also met with the United Nations, and thank you for the Cash App blessing. I appreciate you. And the United Nations declared the American Blacks, or African Americans here, the oldest indigenous peoples on the planet. I'm going to have to show you some of that information on another live so you can see that for yourself. And the courts also determined that the indigenous people would be paid out $85 quadrillion. So she was taking them to court at the same time as the farmers, and other people were taking the United States Incorporated to court. And so it was determined way back in the 90s that the corporation had to cease and desist, and that they would be bankrupted, and that we would return to a republic. One voice asked, why do you need to buy XRP or XLM? One voice, I wouldn't say you have to. There are people out here that are using my name. They're imposters and saying that this is Dr. Kia Pruitt. They'll use my name, my picture, and say you have to create a wallet and, contact me if you need to know about the QFS system. And they'll give you this bogus email. Please do not listen to them. You don't have to send anybody money in order to get into digital assets. So you don't have to get XRP, XLM, XDC, or any of the other digital assets. But Trump did say he's going to make America the largest cryptocurrency country in the world. When he says cryptocurrency, I know people say crypto means death, okay? And they don't like that word. I don't blame you. When he says cryptocurrency, he means digital assets. They're using those words interchangeably. But he's going to make us the largest cryptocurrency country in the world. And I showed an article yesterday, because some people were saying that's ridiculous because BRICS isn't doing that. BRICS is only interested in their own currencies. But I showed an article yesterday that actually asserted that BRICS is also getting into the digital asset space, as is the rest of the world. So you don't have to do it, but you can do it. And the reason why I say you can do it if you want to, because a lot of people have decided all over the world they agree upon digital assets because it's decentralized, which means that the fake United States government doesn't control or regulate it. Digital assets. However, you don't have to use digital assets. There'll be 3 different ways you'll be able to purchase and make purchases or buy goods and services. You'll be able to use your currency, which will be the United States Treasury note here in America, and abroad it'll be their currency or the local currencies there. So you'll be able to use currencies, but all currencies will be backed by precious metals, and they will all be go one-to-one with each other. And or you can use digital assets, which is what you're talking about, these digital coins. And you will also be able to use actually gold and silver. So those three different things. So you don't have to have one or the other. I mean, one over the other. You can use one of the other or all three. Yes, you can change your trade your what you say, I can transfer my Roth through John Hancock and get gold. I don't know who John Hancock is, but you can roll over your IRA into precious metals. I know that Miles Franklin Precious Metals does have a program where you can do that. So you can give them a call at 952-929-7006. Or you can send an email to info@milesfranklin.com, and you'll see that here on the screen. Excellent questions. Yes, I heard the stocks definitely will collapse. The NASDAQ. Okay, NASDAQ, the Dow, and there's another one. But the market is slated to collapse. Love Being says, my house is on the market. Do you think that that's a good idea right now? I have to say I can't give, financial advice. I know a lot about finances, but I'm not a financial advisor certified by the state. I would say that we have already reached the top of the market. It's starting to go. It's about to hit it's going downward. So possibly, if you want to maximize, this is just me talking. This is not financial advice. What I would do is, it depends on whether or not if you have to buy, right? Are you ready to buy in this market as well? Or are you going to move with family? So you have to think about all those different factors. But we are at the top of the market. In fact, we're starting to come on a downward spiral. So think about that. And also know that the housing market is going to collapse. All sorts of financial advisors are saying that. Economic advisors are saying that. Economists are saying, you can look it up. And we can even look it up right now, housing market collapse. So we do know that the values of houses are about to come back down. We know that BlackRock and State Street are dumping houses on the market. We know that Evergrande, which is the largest real estate company that was owned by China, filed for bankruptcy here in America about a year and a half ago, and they were forced to liquidate their assets. So all these major corporations, even Zillow, had bought up a bunch of houses and apartment complexes during the pandemic and right after the pandemic, because many people couldn't afford their houses anymore. Their houses were being foreclosed on, but they had to move somewhere. So these big corporations took advantage of that and did minimal work, if any, on these apartment complexes and these houses that they bought up, and put the rents up really, really high. So people who needed a place to stay would rent from them, but then the rents just kept going up as the years went by. And now we have a lot of people that are homeless and they can't afford the rent. So they left, and all those houses are being dumped onto the market, which means that the housing prices will have to come down. So keep all that into consideration as you make your decision. But people in the chat, let us know what your thoughts are. Do you think this is a good time to sell? Because most people that are selling right now will also have to buy. So let us know your thoughts. Housing market. Oh, here's a forecast for 2025. Just released January 2025. Okay, nope, I don't like that one. Let's see what that. 3 housing markets that will have massive price drops. I just Googled housing market right here, forecast for 2025. And these are the articles that came up. 3 housing markets that will have massive price drops. More of the same predicted for 2025. Real estate markets, personal finance predictions for 2025. I can leave this whole link in the description section for you. But that was December the 4th. Let's see what it said about 2025. 3 housing markets that will have massive price drops in early 2025. I'm going to get you out of here, put you in another one. Here you go. The housing market has cooled off since the pandemic drove demand for homes to levels far beyond what the inventory could meet. While prices are still rising slowly in much of the country, they're already falling in some markets, and other markets are likely to see declines. Likely to see declines mean they will see declines. Here it is, right here. In recent housing market forecast for 2025, based on growth forecasts from October 24 to October 25, Zillow identified 3 metropolitan markets where prices are expected to decline the most this year: New Orleans, San Francisco, and Austin, Texas. Okay, those are the 3 areas this article wanted to talk about. And there are more articles on the forecast for the housing market. So here is, let me see. Here is that link, and I'll put that in the chat for you so you can read all of those articles if you desire to read them before you make a decision. And I'll also put it in the description section for you. Love being Nubian. That was an excellent question. Thank you for that question. One voice says, why do you need to buy digital assets? We talked about that. Melissa said, after I found out what the IRS has been doing as of last year, I said, F it, and I didn't file, and I haven't heard a word from them. Wow. And I'm not about to do it again. And haven't heard anything about it to not do it again. They haven't said anything because most of those agents aren't even there anymore. The IRS was put underneath the auspices and umbrella of the United States Treasury Department. Sabrina, oh, thank you. Valerie, thank you, Valerie. Valerie is addressing Sabrina. She says, as a tax preparer, we're still filing returns for our clients, especially those getting refunds. If you owe, I recommend holding it and filing for an extension. That's the same thing I say too, filing an extension. Thank you for that, Sister Valerie. And you can also write a letter and tell them that you can't afford to pay them, so forgive the debt. Jeffrey says, when I was at Wells Fargo Wealth Management Center asking questions and not getting answers, when I was walking out, one woman whispered to me and said, be patient. Woo! Well, we can close on that, family. Be patient, stay encouraged, keep your vibrations high, have a positive mindset and an abundance mindset. An abundance mindset means that you know that there is more than enough of goods. There is a surplus, an abundance of resources on the planet, and that the Creator has all good intentions designed for you and me. So keep an abundance mindset again, family. Keep your vibrations high and know that we're almost there. That's it for tonight. I hope you have a very good evening. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow on the Sabbath day. God bless you all. Or may the Most High be with you as you sleep. Safe travels in your dreams. And before you go to bed, if there's a question that you have in your mind or you're not sure, before you close your eyes, say, I am going to figure out, or I need to know what to do about this situation. And usually when you say that before you go to sleep, your subconscious mind will work it out for you while you're asleep. So we're almost there, family. That's it. We said so much. We talked about how Trump is rounding up all of these criminals. One last thing I wanted to tell you. We talked about that. Yes, we talked about the dollar collapsing. We talked about gold and silver going up. And what else did we talk about? Trump's tariff starts February the 1st on Canada, Mexico, and China. I also wanted to tell you that I found out that most mayors and governors were in bed with the cabal, which you guys probably figured that out. And so it's coming down to Trump having meetings with them, or putting, his administration having meetings with them and telling them to step down. So you're going to start seeing some governors step down. And we knew that would happen anyway in 2020. You can look this up when at the governor's conference, who was the Secretary of State in 2020? He was the ex-FBI or CIA director. Pompeo met, you can look this up on YouTube. Pompeo met at the governor's conference on February 8th, 2020. Pompeo, governor's conference. I just want to show you this. This is a very, very good video here. Pompeo met with the governors and he told them, I know that many of you are complicit with the Chinese Communist Party. And as a former, was it CIA director or FBI? I can't remember which one he was, but as a former agent, I have all the information on you all. And he said, every single one of you governors have been graded on, and we have a report card where you've been graded between an A and an F in terms of how complicit you were with the Chinese Communist Party. He said, many of you governors had allowed Chinese illegal immigrants to come into this country and infiltrate every segment of our society. You've allowed them to come and serve in government at the state level, at the federal level. You have allowed them to serve in research departments and in higher education. You've allowed them to become educators in the schools, in order to turn our country over into a communist state. So he said, I'm warning you right now that you need to step down before we come after you. He said, this at the governor's conference. Everybody, all of you are in this room. So this is your final warning to do the right thing. That was right before the global shutdown. And do you know that those governors allowed for their states to be shut down? They allowed for the George Soros funded BLM and Until Freedom and Antifa to come into their states and into their cities. So this is why Trump is meeting secretively behind the scenes with a lot of those governors and a lot of those mayors and telling them to stand down. And he's getting rid of them one by one, systematically. So if you get a chance, I want you to look at this governor's conference in 2020 that occurred. I don't know if he'll say, this is only a clip. Let's see what he's saying here. Hold on.
Thank you, Governor Hogan, Governor Cuomo. Nice to see you. It's great to be here with you all. I was watching basketball on my phone on the way in, Auburn 91, LSU 90. And it's a final in overtime. Yes, exactly.
Thank you, Chief Mac, for the Cash App blessing. I love you.
I was reminded, you said I'm the 70th Secretary of State. It always reminds me President Trump is the 45th President of the United States, so there is a lot more turnover in my gig than there is in his. So it's good to be with you today. I do want to thank Governor Hogan and the Vice Chair, Governor Cuomo, and everyone else here at NGA for hosting me here today. It's a hard act to follow, following the President's State of the Union address the other night. I have no medals of freedom to distribute here today, nor am I passing out copies, so you can't tear them up when I'm done. I've gotten to know some of you as I've traveled throughout the states. I've probably traveled inside the country more than many secretaries of state. It's something they usually don't do as much. I think it's important that the American people understand what our diplomats are doing around the world and why we're doing it. So I just wanted to mention that if you see me in your state, I'm not lost. I know your state has not seceded from the Union. I know where I am. Although I know there's some folks in California who are clamoring for Cal exit.
So he was the former CIA director, and he was going around to different states before the governor's conference to collect information on them. Some people will say Pompeo is a part of the deep state, but he may have been replaced or he may have been forced to do this to gather up evidence against governors in each state.
So President Newsom, I look forward to working with Secretary of State Feinstein when that comes to be. I can get away with California jokes. I grew up in...
Let's see if I can fast forward this a little bit.
To the U.S.-China Governors Collaboration Summit. It was an event co-hosted by the National Governors Association and something called the Chinese People's Association for Friendship and Foreign Countries. Sounds pretty harmless. What the invitation did not say is that the group I just mentioned is the public face of the Chinese Communist Party's official foreign influence agency, the United Front Work Department. Now, I was lucky. I was familiar with that organization from my time as the director of the Central Intelligence Agency, but it got me thinking, how many of you made the link between that group and Chinese Communist Party officials? What if you made a new friend while you were at that event? What if your new friend asked you for introductions to other politically connected and powerful people? What if your new friend offered to invest big money in your state, perhaps in your pension, in industries sensitive to our national security? These aren't hypotheticals. These scenarios are all too true, and they impact American foreign policy significantly. Indeed, last year, a Chinese government-backed think tank in Beijing produced a report that assessed all 50 of America's governors on their attitudes towards China.
So he's about to go in and talk about how, as he said, they assess all 50 of Americans' governors on their attitudes towards China and their complicity, how complicit they were with colluding with the Chinese Communist Party.
They labeled each of you friendly, hardline, or ambiguous. I'll let you decide where you think you belong. Someone in China already has.
Woo! He's saying we already got the information and evidence against you.
Many of you, indeed, in that report are referenced by name. So here's the lesson. The lesson is that competition with China is not just a federal issue. It's why I wanted to be here today, Governor Hogan. It's happening in your states with consequences for our foreign policy, for the citizens that reside in your states, and indeed for each of you. And in fact, whether you're viewed by the CCP as friendly or hardline, know that it's working you. Know that it's working the team around you. Competition with China is happening inside of your state, and it affects our capacity to perform America's vital national security functions. I want to set the context today for this topic. At the end of the Cold War, America started to engage with China heavily. It made good sense. We thought that the more we interacted, the more it would become like a liberal democracy, like us here in the United States. It didn't happen. And you all know this. Indeed, under Xi Jinping, the country is moving exactly in the opposite direction. More repression, more unfair competition, more predatory economic practices, indeed a more aggressive military posture as well. But you should know, this doesn't mean we can't do business with China. I had an operation when I ran Century International. We had a small office in Shanghai. We can find places to cooperate when our interests converge. You can see that in the first part of the trade deal that President Trump got done, signed last month. We're happy about that.
I see some of you saying that this is not Pompeo, that there were two, so he must have been changed out. Thank you.
Right thing to do. That was indeed a deal that was good for both the United States and China. And these economic ties are powerful. They're important and good. They're good for your state. They're good for America. Look at the nearly 18 tons of medical supplies the United States just flew to China this past week to help fight the coronavirus. Yesterday, we announced more than $100 million in assistance to China and the countries that are affected by that virus. And on that note, too, I want to take just a moment to note, I want to send my condolences to the loved ones of the United States citizen who fell victim to the coronavirus in Wuhan.
So I don't know if you guys want to continue on, if you want me to fast forward, but he goes on to talk about how he's collected evidence against them and that he was warning them to do the right thing. So what I'll do is I'll take that link and put it in the chat, and then I'll also put it in the description section for you. So that was February the 8th, 2020, and he was warning them before the it was announced that there was a global pandemic. But we had some information, like, because you heard him mention it, about the CV or about the virus, but it hadn't been made official yet, because that official announcement came out March the 13th, and this was February the 8th, 2020. But I brought Pompeo up just to let you know that he had warned the governors in 2020, and now here we are in 2025, 5 years later. Well, Trump is meeting with the governors and saying they got to go, as well as the mayors. So here is that link right here. And of course, I'll put it in the description section for you. Thank you. Jeffrey said Trump put individuals in front and center in order to expose them. I agree. I agree. So he mentioned the Chinese Communist Party and how complicit the state governors had been with them. And if you noted what was going on during the pandemic, or I don't know if I could say that word anymore, but what was going on during the shutdown is they allowed a lot of these Antifa groups and Black Lives Matter to stage riots and to tear up the cities. I don't know what your city looked like, but I know one of the reasons I came to Florida was because in Louisville, Kentucky, they destroyed about 60-70% of downtown Louisville, maybe even more than that. And you know, half of it, more than half of it is not operating right now, but they destroyed most of downtown, a great majority of downtown. They destroyed businesses. They destroyed restaurants and anybody basically who didn't have a Black Lives Matter sign in their door, any businesses. They just destroyed it. They destroyed ATM machines. They destroyed restaurants. I said that they destroyed grocery stores so that a lot of the elders couldn't even get their groceries during that time. They just tore up the city. So we decided to come to Florida because Florida was a free state. And one of the things the Florida governor said here is, we're not having that. We're not going to allow you to tear up. If you want to do your private protest, then you're going to do that, but you have to do it peacefully and you can't be rowdy. And he said, I will press charges against you to the fullest extent of the law if you tear up this city here in well, not just Jacksonville, Florida, because he's allegedly from Florida. I mean, Jacksonville, but the whole state. In any city in the state, you will be arrested and you will go to prison. So I'm glad I came here. But the reason they had allowed that to happen is because they were in bed with the Chinese Communist Party. And they also put out this model for the people to say what they say, defund the police. And the reason why they wanted to defund the police at the time was because they knew they were going to destroy all these cities. And if the police would hear people say defund them, then they would say, we're just going to not work and we'll quit our jobs. And then the Communist Party had intended to come in with their military that was very, very rough, that people would not ever be able to handle. But the people didn't know that. And Trump came forward then and he said, we can't defund the police right now. We know that there are bad apples, but we had to weed out the bad apples. And then we have to retrain police. And what he was doing then, and I said it then in 2020, is he's preparing us for the restoration of the republic. But while the police is in place right now, you can't just remove them unless you're going to put something in their place. And you don't want the Chinese Communist Party military coming in their place. Okay. But he said we have to retrain them, weed out the bad apples and retrain them. And now here we are, while they're working behind the scenes to restore the republic in 2025. And also in last year, 2024, we saw police departments all across the nation closing. And all of the duties of those departments were actually funneling into the sheriff's department. And any police officers that wanted to remain had to be retrained and work for the sheriff's department, because according to our Constitution, it is the sheriffs that enforce the law and not policy enforcers or police officers, because they are attached to the United States Incorporated, the deep state, the cabal, the Illuminati, the Federal Reserve, the whole federal fake government, which is a group of bloodline families. So you guys know this, but all I'm saying is Trump is doing his job to clean up everything. Pompeo made that announcement at the governor's conference 5 years ago in 2020, and here we are in 2025. You're going to start seeing your governors and even mayors in your cities step down because they're all a part of the same club. So that's it, family. I've kept you on long enough. I hope you all got all the information that you needed from each other while you were chatting. I also wanted to bring up that he talked about the Chinese Communist Party. Well, 400 million people defected from the Chinese Communist Party. So now that shouldn't be an issue. They had a huge celebration called Tai Dong, and I brought this up before, but I reported it also when it actually happened. You see, it was updated February. It just says Saturday, February 1st, 2025, but it was actually written here. This article was August the 3rd, 2022, and that is when the celebration occurred. So the article talks about how 400 million people were happy to sever ties with the Communist Chinese Party, how many of them didn't even want to be involved with the party, but they had been blackmailed to do so, especially business owners and government workers. But now the party has collapsed. And you see the People's Republic of China. Now you're going to start seeing the Republic of certain states being named as the state, like the Republic for Florida, or Republic of Florida, or Republic of California, because now the Republic is being restored all over the country, and each state will operate as its own country. That's why lawmakers are making their own laws in the state to make gold and silver legal tender or lawful money. States have passed laws against central bank digital currencies. States have also decided not to take any money from the Department of Education, and they're saying we can educate our own students. But states are reclaiming their sovereignty. So if you want to make a change, things aren't happening fast enough, work at the state level, because according to the 10th Amendment of the Constitution, state communities have more power than the federal government. So that's about it, family. It is 1:29 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I do not want to keep you any longer. My name is Dr. Kia Pruitt. I hope I said something to raise your vibrations and inspire you to create the most amazing, magnificent life that you desire and deserve. And for all of you that sent me a blessing, a Cash App blessing, I want to say thank you. I appreciate you. I know that people, don't have to give, but you say you appreciate my work and you show it. So I appreciate you all. And I want to say that God bless you 1,000-fold more than what you blessed me with. And I really appreciate the reciprocity. As you stand behind me and push me forward, then I pour into you. And as I pour into you, you pour back into me. And that's what families do. So thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful night. Peace. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.